Ron, do you want to use my mic and I fix that while you're trying to?
Was the 29th?
Let's do that. Okay, with that little delay, let's get going here. Item number 1 is approval of the agenda. I move the approval of the agenda.
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Item number 2, approval of meeting minutes for January 16th, 2024.
Move it.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Item number 3, approval of claims. And for that, I will call on Shane Aldrich to give us an overview, please.
All right. So up on the screen right now, I'll zoom in so you can see it. We have 2 bills from Goldberg Group. First one is their normal bill, $21,271.22. The second one is reimbursable, and that's $2,091.73. And the final bill is from Baker Group for $34,000 for the month. And a total of bills is $57,362.95. Any questions?
Move it.
Second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, passes 2-0. Item number 4 on the agenda is our financial report. I call on Dennis Butler for that, please.
Okay, there was not a whole lot of activity this month. Like Shane said, we just had $57,362.95 taken out, so that'll lower our balance for the taxable bonds of $4,322,022.96. Standard deduction remains the same. We did not spend any of that. Miscellaneous revenues did not change because she hadn't posted the interest for January. She didn't do that till about first week in February. Then the $1 million, again, we'll be putting 200,000 more in May 1st to make it $1,200,000. Any action done today on receipt of funds, rebates, is not added in here yet. We'll do that after it's done.
Mr. Chair, can I speak a little bit about financial things? Sure. I want everybody to remember and kind of tell you the status of where we're at. We have not paid a bill to Houseman Construction since October is the last month we paid them for. So right now, the authority, GGA just approved pay request 30R. 30R had some claims on CCD 6 that we didn't agree with, so we're going to redline these. That 30R is for the month of November. We currently have the pay request for the month of December, which is pay request 31. That pay request is going to be rejected and sent back for Houseman to take into consideration the changes we made to 30R. So and for any questions anybody has on that, so right now, we didn't get the pay request till a couple weeks ago. We made the determination that we weren't acceptable with the number for CCD 6, which was just a little bit over $1 million, and have pushed back on that and are going to redline that out of the pay request. Any questions?
Mr. Butler, anything in addition from you? Nope. Okay, very good. Thank you for your report. And Shane. Item number 5 on the agenda is discussion on covering year 1 maintenance for the LEC, and I call on Mark Nelson on that issue.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And the wording on this is a little bit wrong because what we have found out in the meantime is that what I'm proposing would not require any amendment to the lease. So here's what we're looking at.
Point of clarification, do you have the newest agenda packet that was changed, or are you looking at the old agenda packet?
Oh, okay.
So there is no...
Okay, sweet. Excuse me. So, because the project is delayed, the delay is ongoing, the county's going to have to make our first bond payment here coming up, the $1.2 million. Obviously, we were hoping to have federal prisoners in by then. So we're going to have to take this out of cash reserves to pay that bond payment. When we were going through budgets last week, Kenny Schmitz with Building Services came up and presented his budget. And he's got several budgets for several different buildings, that kind of stuff. But when we were going through specifically for the new law enforcement center, Kenny had budgeted roughly $200,000 for repairs and maintenance inside the new LEC. Not operating costs, but repairs and maintenance. And given that the jail, that the LEC is going to be delayed almost a full year, or we don't have prisoners in there, we basically, that 20-year maintenance fund has turned into a 19-year maintenance fund, because we're still paying for 20 years, but we're only going to have inmates in there for just roughly over 19 years. We're paying $400,000, the county's paying $400,000 a year in maintenance funds. Kenny says he needs about $200,000 for repairs and maintenance for this year. The county's looking at a very tight budget. You know, when we proposed this thing, it was that we were not gonna, that it was not gonna affect the taxpayers, and we'd like to have a flat levy rate this year. And so what I would like to suggest is that this body approve a repairs and maintenance agenda for just this year only, provided by Kenny, and we authorize Kenny to purchase and buy such items that fall under that repair and maintenance out of the LEC maintenance fund, thus saving the county $200,000 in their budget off of Kenny, that we could pass those savings on to the taxpayers of Woodbury County. I've spoke with Jason Kaminsky of Allers and Cooney about this to see what legally would be the way that we could accomplish this, and he said the only way that we could do it would be to set it up this way, that we'd have to, you know, we could approve a budget, we could approve expenditures, and Kenny could do his thing, but the maintenance fund has to be spent on maintenance and repairs, not operational costs. Kenny, if you'd like to come up and comment too. We're just trying to be creative as, you know, as we're continuing to be damaged of how we can help the taxpayers. So.
Kenny Schmitz, Building Services Director. The dollar amounts Mark, I think, was speaking to, and I think it might be a little closer to $250,000. Dennis, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we based, earlier that figure was based on what we thought would be 4 months operating out of 2024's budget, okay? And now, obviously, the rest of that year, since we didn't occupy the building, there was no cost there. So one thing I am a little bit concerned about, and I've said so to Dennis, is I think if we were to occupy, not saying we are, let's say if we were to occupy the new building in March, we would need 4 months of operating costs, full operating costs. That coupled with $105,000 in assets, in asset items, in a different line item. The board has actually got, I actually had the same line item in 2 different budgets, in 2024 and in 2025. There's an account, it's a 63,500 account, it's just for fixed assets. In both of those budget years, I implemented $105,000. I did that because I thought, or it was hinted that the 2024 budget would be pulled back. So I pushed that money, I pushed those asset purchases into the 2025 budget. And I believe the Board of Supervisors has that on the agenda for the 2025 budget to pull that line item. So what I think is important going forward for everyone to try to remember is there's a possibility of needing 4 full months of operating costs in the new jail. I can't tell you whether that's the fact or not the fact. All I can say is it's a possibility in my view. And that if we withdraw the 63,500 account from the 25 budget this evening, that it's imperative that we keep that in the 2024 budget. And what those assets are is they're listed as things, I don't have the book out here, but it's a snow thrower for the front of our Bobcat. It's carpet machines, floor scrubbing machines, a scissors lift. We had an XUV in there at one time. Mark and I talked through a little of that, and it was discussed we probably could do without that. So it is covering some important items that we need to have, so. Just need to throw those figures around a little bit. Thank you.
Because how I look at it is the original open date was, April of 2023, which we would have had roughly 600,000 in the maintenance fund at that time. Dennis, isn't that correct? And then we moved it to September. And now if we, let's say hypothetically, we get moved in April of this year, we'll be sitting almost at 1.2 million. So we're quite a ways ahead on day one of operating the jail this year than we would be a year ago as far as the maintenance fund. And so to me, taking 200 or 250,000 out for maintenance and repairs to help the county out through this time and help the taxpayers, I think is a wise decision. But obviously it would take, the supervisors have nothing to do with it, it would have to come from this body, and so it would take, two of the three of us. But that's my recommendation. I've talked with Jody about it, talked with Jason Kaminsky. The lease does not have to be amended, it's very broad, and that Kenny could use it for repairs and maintenance, that kind of thing. But I'll turn it over to you, Ron, for your thoughts and consideration.
I need some time to think about the process we're in. I gotta tell you that there's a high level of frustration here. We're continually hearing about someone wanting to do away with or do I'm willing to look, but I am frustrated. I understand the need to get the budget in place, make everything work, but one of the things that we talked about during the referendum process, that the authority was going to do everything they could to build a building for the people of Woodbury County that were less than. Part of that process was we actually had this maintenance fund put together based on the type of building we were dealing with, the equipment that was in it, the warranties that are on it. And part of maintaining that building and having it there for decades for the people of Woodbury County is that it's properly maintained. I'm no authority on it, but it's my understanding from conversations with different people that that's not something that the Board of Supervisors of Woodbury County has done in the past. That buildings like the current LEC don't have a maintenance fund.
Correct.
Don't have that piece in place to maintain the building properly so it will last for decades.
Yep.
So I have a frustration level with that. Someone is always talking about doing away with the maintenance fund, or now we're talking about taking some money out of the maintenance fund for something that was not designed for. I'm willing to look at it.
And I can appreciate that, but I think what's changed is that we didn't occupy it for almost a whole year. And so you've got a whole year that you don't have maintenance and wear and tear on the building as well. But that money is still sitting there. It's kind of like if you have an account for your car and you don't drive your car anywhere and your roof starts leaking, you don't borrow money to fix your roof, you're going to take it out of that car account. And so I think that, the first year we've got a lot of warranties, just like you said. I think that Kenny's budget could be on the high side. Obviously, there's some fixed things that he wants to purchase, but I think those numbers are going to be on the high side. I think given that we've got almost a full year without wear and tear, without prisoners in there, that's going to help us further down the line. We're in better shape day one. Like I said, we've got more money in there day one on the maintenance fund than we would have a year ago. And so, to me, and the Board of Supervisors can't take we've discussed the maintenance fund. And I know who you're referring to, and I understand that there's been a tax on the maintenance fund, and I remember how it was pitched, and that's what I think sold a lot of people on this project, is they wanted to see that if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. There's going to be a fund that's going to maintain it, and it's going to last in the future. And so, by no means is this attack on that. I just look at it that we've got circumstances that are out of our control. This project's behind schedule, the county is damaged, so let's try to be good stewards and try to help them. And really, about the only way we can do that is to pay for some repairs and maintenance this first year and try to help the taxpayers out a little bit. So it was nothing nefarious in that regard about the maintenance fund, just kind of a one-time crutch to help out where we can.
And a little bit ago, you mentioned the fact that there are warranties in the first year and everything. Just so everyone's clear, that maintenance fund was not a lottery number that we pulled out of a hat.
Yeah.
That maintenance fund was a very detailed process that an engineer put together, estimating the amount of money and taking into account warranties and things like that. So I just want to be clear about that.
And I believe Dale said 2 weeks ago that we had done more work, thorough work, as far as looking ahead and planning, strategic planning on replacements and repairs of this project than he's seen on almost any project he's ever worked on. So, I mean, and I can appreciate that, and it makes you feel good about what we're doing. But, so that's my concern of how can this body help the county and as we continue to wade through this project, so.
I'm willing to look.
Chairman, can I ask one question for everybody to think about? I want to ask you this. Let's say you do that and you give $250 to this fund. It's now an expense that is going to come out with bills from Kenny's budget to the authority,
Yes,
for the authority to have to approve.
yes.
So right now, I just want to make sure we say that. The normal act of when this building opens, you can have authority meetings still, but you would literally end up having county meets weekly to approve expenses and pay. So I just want everybody to understand, in a free board that doesn't have anything, by doing it this way, you're going to cause a ton of meetings to approve bills and payments of those bills, because it's going to take an authority meeting. That's all I wanted to say, thinking about the procedures that would take to enact and pay those bills.
Yep.
It's an important piece.
Yeah, and how I envisioned it was that we could authorize Kenny up to so many dollars like we have with yourself as far as purchases, that we would then approve at a later date, whether that meeting is once a month or twice a month. You know, it's for 1 year, and I think that we could all agree that the time that would take to do some of that would be better than paying extra taxes.
And I think the other thing that we need to also be thinking about is the fact that at some point, the authority needs to put together a plan on when we are up and operating, what and when and how the amount comes out of the authority's.
Yep, for sure.
So I think we could maybe be looking at more than one thing here.
For sure. Yeah, and what's tough is we've got a good idea of what stuff's going to cost. Kenny's, prorated some stuff from the old LEC to this one, so I think we can be pretty close. But until we run it for 1 year, we're really not going to know the exact dollar. So.
I'm willing to take a look.
Okay, appreciate it.
No commitment, but take a look.
Sure. Thank you.
Anything else on that?
That's all I got.
All right, very good, thank you. Item number 6, discussion and approval of the Law Enforcement Center dedication plaque. I'll call on Shane Albrecht. I know that's really something for the board to do. Where are we at on that, Shane, or would you like to have Kevin come up?
Sure. But for everybody's knowledge in the room and on the authority and not here, if you look up at the screen behind you on the TV, this is what the dedication plaque will look like right now. So on the left of it, you got the name across the top. On the left side, we've got the Law Enforcement Center Authority logo. On the right side, we got the Sheriff's Office logo. At the top, we list all 4 authority members and their titles. Then we list the sheriff, chief deputy, and then we do the general contractor as Houseman, owner's rep as Baker Group, and the project architect is Goldberg Group Architects. And we tell you the project's completed in 2024. We need to get this approved because we need to get this plaque made. It'll be installed by Building Services at a later time that we can talk about at that time.
Questions or comments?
What's the cost on this?
That's included in the project.
Oh, okay. Then I'll move approval.
Second? All in favor, aye? Aye. Aye. Passes 2-0. Thank you. All right, item number 7 on our agenda today is Mid-American Energy presentation. just mentioning the fact that originally the estimated rebate was going to be around $98,000. Because of the design of the building and because of all the features of the building, we're going to hear from a gentleman that's here from Mid-American Energy today that our rebate's actually over $149,000. And that's the type of thing we want to do for the people of Woodbury County. With that, I'd like Shane Albrecht to talk just a little bit about what we did in the building that it increased that rebate amount. So Shane, I'll turn it over to you.
Yes, this building was done, and Kenny, can I get you to come up as well, please? Okay. And Sam, can I ask you to come up as well? Sorry, the person, everybody, please state your name into the microphone if that's below us, so they know who you are.
Kevin Ross, Goldberg Group Architects.
Kenny Schmitz, Woodbury County Building Services.
Sam Wagner, Mid-American Energy.
So, when we started this project off and we're in the design before it went out for bid, we looked at basically a good, better, and best profile, and rebates come for things that you do are above and beyond the code minimum. So as we were picking groups and working with Mid-American and other partners in the Wilson Group, we picked different things. So Kenny, kind of take it over to you right now.
Sure, we looked at different equipment that we could utilize in the facility. As Shane said, it was a kind of a good, better, best approach. And we worked on this quite a while because what the good wasn't good enough, in my opinion, and I believe in Baker's opinion as well. So we wanted better, and better means we're going to get equipment with a longer lifespan. The good might have started with something like AC units and multiple units on the roof, let's say maybe 50. The better is what we've settled upon, which was larger single units in addition of boilers to make more of a central plant approach. Best was equipment that was priced, we thought, a little bit out of common range. So we thought the asking price of a Cadillac was too much. And so we met with Wilden, who works with Mid-American, on what a best approach would be from flowing from one option to the other. And we kind of ended up in the end with a hybrid, some out of the best and most out of the better. And so that's how we got to the rebate amount that we're at. That's all based on energy savings. So what this will do for us into the future is we'll get equipment with a longer extended life, but we'll also get annual operating expenses that'll be much lower than what just a good approach would have been. So higher energy efficiency, if you want to call it that.
So I brought Kevin up. That includes some of the wall systems that we put in the buildings,
Yeah,
and
so-
installation ratings.
What we try to do as a team is try to calculate, building material-wise, equipment-wise, what's that best use of balance of that funds, initial cost versus operational cost, and energy savings potentials of that. And so, yeah, stuff like the insulated metal wall panels we use on the facility, so high-efficiency boilers, just things like that. We try to balance that initial cost with getting a good piece of equipment and find that balance for energy usage and long-term operational costs for those savings. So I think we did a great job as a team, and obviously our rebates sound like they're a little bit better than we anticipated as well.
So Sam, I'd like to kick it over to you now. Thank you for coming today.
Well, no, I want to thank you for saying all the things that I came here prepared to say. So my job just got a heck of a lot easier.
Shane's really good at that.
Yeah. So my name is Sam Wagner. My name is Sam Wagner. I'm a Business and Community Development Manager with Mid-American Energy, and I'm filling in for Misty Miller, who actually was working on this project much more directly than I was. I'll find that sweet spot. And unfortunately, Misty was unable to be here today, so they had to reach pretty far down the bench to get me, so bear with me. But, I mean, everything that's been said here, really just points to a very good partnership. You know, these projects, these energy efficiency projects, they have to be started very early on in the process during the building design. So you can make some of these choices at a time when those choices actually affect the performance of the building long-term. So we applaud the LEC Authority for reaching out to us early on in this process and really diving in. Secondly, these projects, they are not cookie cutter projects, and I think we learned that. We knew that going into it, but I think our experience working with the LEC Authority in this is really about finding those decisions that made the most sense for the LEC. And the results speak for themselves. I think this report that we sent out has all the details, about the energy efficiency project and the rebates that come with that, and incentives that come with that, but really base 16, which is Appendix A, that's really where the goods are. And you can just go down the list and see, where the energy savings are at, what the baselines are, how we even modeled the project to begin with, and then when the project was actually built, you can see that there is a progression of kind of good, better, and best. The performance on this is outstanding, and it really comes down to not only the incentive, which is $148,078, but we factor that into the energy savings that this building is going to enjoy for for its operational lifespan. That's just over 6 years in payback. So after year 6, all of those savings, the county and the taxpayers are going to enjoy this going forward. So we just wanted to come here to deliver the check, make sure it goes to a good place, don't give it a penny, and just applaud you for a very good, a very successful project from our perspective. Thank you.
And one point of clarification, the check is for $149,078, not $148. So you put your glasses on.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I'm blind. Yeah, 149,000. You were right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Enjoy working with you.
Likewise.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
There's not Shane's name's not on that check, right?
Again, thank you, Sam.
Yep.
All right, item number 8 on our agenda today is discussion and approval of PCO 113, and I'll call on Shane Albrecht on that, please.
Yeah, PCO 113 is the removal of the building allowance, the maintenance building allowance from the job. So it's a $250,000 credit. So basically an allowance, as I've said many times, doesn't get spent by Houseman until there's a change or something against it. We decided Houseman wasn't going to build Kenny's maintenance building or building services maintenance building. So we've removed that now from their contract. So their contract value will decrease by $250,000.
I'll move it.
Second? All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 2-0. Thank you. Item number 9, discussion and approval of PCCO 22, and I'll call on Shane Albrecht on that also.
Okay, so PCCO 22 is a formality. So what it basically has, it has, again, as you can see on the screen, it has the 4 PCOs that we approved 2 weeks ago, and this PCO put on it. So it's got the PCO 107 that we did for $1,267. It has the PCO 113 that you just approved for minus $250. It has the PCO 115 for a credit of $118, and that was that sign, the building sign mark that you just asked about earlier. PCO 116, which was $2,182, and PCO 118, which is for $3,697, for a grand total of a savings of $242,972.
Any questions?
I'll move it.
I'll second it. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Passes 2-0. Thank you. Item number 10 on the agenda is the information and update on the LEC project, and again, I call on Shane Albrecht, please.
Yeah, so like we do a lot of times, I'm going to start off reading a press release. So again, I apologize for people who have to listen to me read. The authority focus continues to be working with Hausman Construction and Goldberg Group Architects on the completion of the project. A mock-up of Pod E in the jail area was reviewed. Hausman has been working on corrective measures. This pod will be reevaluated on Tuesday, January 30th, which was today and which was this morning. CCD 009 was issued on Thursday, January 11th, after GJ and the authority rejected Hausman's proposed change order 114 for additional costs and times for PR 38. This CCD deals with omission of one fire damper, one motorized damper, and one diffuser in the second floor, upper A. Jail Inspector Delbert Longley will be here on site Thursday, February 1st, conducting a pre-final walk of the jail area and kind of working with the sheriff's office to make sure where we're heading with everything is good. Furniture, building services furniture for the county stuff is currently being delivered and installed in the county attorney's space, the sheriff's office, and jail administration. The authority, GGA, and Hausman are continuing to discuss Hausman's previously requested additional time and expense for this damper work, which the authority and GGA have expressed disagreement. The authority and its council continue to assess its additional costs and damages on the project and taking the proper steps to ultimately hold the responsible parties liable for such additional costs and damages to be incurred by the authority. And we had a 2-hour meeting on CCD 6 on Monday from 8:30 to 10:30, just for everybody's knowledge as well. Kevin, can I ask you to come up, please? And make sure you state your name. So kind of an update on the LEC. We've been out walking pods and stuff like that. Kevin, but could you tell me, and for the authorities' knowledge, how many people have you had on the site walking around doing punch lists at any one time, and how many hours have you invested on punch lists?
Sure, so I've got 3 colleagues out there walking the building now, as well as myself, minus this meeting here today. So far to date, we've spent nearly 200 man-hours out there walking the site for punch lists and back walk out there, which is a little above and beyond the normal for a project this size, but we just wanted to make sure we're getting this thing done right for you guys. So we'll continue to do that. I think we're roughly halfway through the building now, so we still got a good chunk to go. So, but yeah, we're going to continue to bring as many people up here from our office as we can, get as many areas punched as Hausman's got complete and ready for us to review. So,
has the amount of submittals and RFIs been normal on this project, Kev?
no, that's another thing that's been a little abnormal with the number of requests for information and material substitutions or submittals for review. We've continued to see those come in. Currently now, I think we're over 550 RFIs on the project. Out of those, I'd say at least close to 200 of those have been field error or contractor-driven change requests, stuff like that from the field. So we continue to see a number of those come through, and we'll continue to work through those as well, just to keep things moving forward. And yeah, we're still getting a bunch of submittals in for product data pretty late in the ball game. Typically, we'd see those come in the first 3 to 6 months in a project, even a year into a project, but here we are 2 years later, and we're still getting submittals in for material that needs to be ordered. So we're trying to keep up with the pace of all that, but we're a little surprised some of these come in the time they have. So just give you an update on those.
So on a project this size, what would be normal for RFIs or ballpark?
So I went back and compared this to several other similar sized projects, and I think even with some difficult issues on that, we'd see somewhere in the 100 to 120 range versus the 550 plus we're seeing so far on this one. So
almost 5 times.
yeah.
And those RFIs, a lot of those are the contractor was seeking clarification from the drawings.
Correct. So in this case, yeah, I think I calculated about 250 of these are legitimate questions. There's a discrepancy on a set of plans or whatever. Over 200 of these are, hey, we put this in the wrong place, we move this type thing, or just different things like that that have come up from the field, or hey, can we do this instead of this? We missed an embed plate. What's a fix here that we can attach this piece of steel to? So yeah, we've seen a fair amount of those come through as well too, more than we typically would on a project of any size.
Lovely.
So as we continue on for updates, we continue to have meetings, we continue to walk and do areas. But there's some good things coming on. Kenny's going to be working with Peggy Fredericks from the courts to possibly get some furniture. We've got CTI coming in. We've got some elevator inspectors that were there today to inspect the elevator. Fire alarm inspection happened a week ago. I haven't heard the exact results. We were too busy in other stuff, but we have an all-day meeting with Accurate Controls tomorrow, which Accurate Controls is our security electronics contractor, as we continue to work through what to do with the sheriff's office and getting Tony and his people abilities. So it's kind of ever evolving out there.
Yeah, we've got, started scheduling owner training. I think some of that's happening with Kenny and his folks on the generator and several other components. So we are starting to get to close to the end on some of these things as we start to get those things turned over, operated, fired up, and the owner trained on them as well too.
Yeah. Kenny's team has a 3-hour training tomorrow on 4 different parts of the HVAC system. He's had training on the generator. He's going to have arc flash training coming up, different things of that nature.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, item number 11, public concerns. Seeing none, we'll move to item number 12, authority member concerns. I will turn it over to you, Mr. Wilson.
I don't have anything today.
I'd just like to share something with you. It kind of follows up on what Kenny and Shane have been talking about. Put together some notes on what our week looks like. I got a little bit of time here, so I want to do it. We'll just stand down if I don't. Just to give you an idea of what we do on a week like this. So Sunday afternoon, Shane arrived in Sioux City around 2:30. By 3 o'clock, we were in a meeting that went till 7 o'clock, and we were looking at all of the things that we had on our schedule for the week and making sure that we had everything down pat there. Our Monday morning started off with a meeting focusing on CCD 06. That was the fire dampers. That was about a 2-hour meeting. We then went to the site and did back walk and punch list things that Kevin talked about for the balance of the day. Tuesday, today, we started at the site doing back walk and punch list. At 11:30, we had our owners meeting with the general contractor. At 2 o'clock, we were here at the courthouse and we're doing our authority meeting, and we'll have 2 closed sessions for the balance of the day. Wednesday, tomorrow morning, we'll be at the site continuing the back walk and punch list process. And at 9 o'clock, as was just mentioned a few minutes ago, there's HVAC training, owner training that will last for 3 hours. And after that training, we'll be down to the office, which is here in downtown Sioux City. And we have a meeting set up on the 28th Street rebuild project that we'll be going over, trying to get that process all concluded. Thursday morning, we'll be at the site doing the site walk with State Jail Inspector Delbert Longley. At 1 o'clock, we'll be in a meeting downtown at the office with Woodbury County Building Services Director and WCICC. And then at 2 o'clock, we'll be in a meeting dealing with FF&E for the LEC. On Friday, anything that came up during the week, we will handle on Friday. And at some point, when we conclude business for Friday, Shane will return to Ankeny. And I got a couple minutes left here. I'd like to follow up on that and say that this is our general schedule. This is generally what happens on the week that he's here. On the week that he is not here, we're probably on the phone a lot of times 2-3 times a day. And it's not uncommon for that to be on a Saturday, sometimes Sunday morning. And we have spent a number of Sunday afternoons on either team meeting or a 3-way call with our attorney, Jody McDougal. I just wanted to give you a little bit of an idea of what our schedule looks like when he's here. It's full. It's full when he's not here. And the other thing that I would tell you is that he's not only, from Baker Group's standpoint, in charge of our project, but he has other projects that he's in charge of also. So we get great service there, and we work well together. It's been a great process.
And I would like to add to that, Ron, that, I'm glad you went through that because I don't think a lot of people know. But you bring this up, brought up, this week, last week, I'll say, I had 2 calls from citizens that were mad about the project, where it was at. And I talked with the first one, we had a very civil conversation. The second one, more or less, just kind of yelled at me the whole time. But one thing that both of them said that I was disappointed with was they both said that this group or nobody in the county are holding anybody accountable. And I was disappointed that they thought that, because obviously it's a reflection on us, that somehow we haven't done a good enough job to let people know that we are absolutely holding people accountable. And we will hold people accountable. The authority has, the Board of Supervisors has, the Sheriff's Office has, everybody involved knows what's going on. That's why we've got two of the best attorneys in the state. And I think what Kevin just said here a little bit ago gives folks a little insight to what we're dealing with here. But we'll continue to work on that. We'll explore how we can be more proactive to letting people know that we are actively doing everything we can to build evidence, send letters, engage these parties, but we are absolutely not taking the sitting down, and we are absolutely not just going to roll over.
I would ask the people of Woodbury County to please understand that our main focal point right now is to get that building completed, to get the sheriff's office, to get the people out of the current LEC to the new LEC. We are putting together, as you said, Mr. Nelson, we are putting together the evidence that we need to hold people responsible, but that process will not start until we unlock that door for the first time.
That's right.
And the sheriff's office is out there, and the inmates from the current LEC is out there. We're on top of it, it's going to work, we'll be there.
Yep. Amen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we're very, very close to 2:45, so we do have a closed session with the authority at 2:45, so I'd ask everyone